All right, everybody, man, welcome to another live training for the Extraordinary Family Life Formula group coaching. We are still in Guatemala having all kinds of crazy, awesome experiences and just the
You
wonders
say
of,
that about everything.
I know, because it's for real.
Our crazy awesome experience yesterday was getting our yard torn up into a mud pit.
Yeah. Hired a big tractor to make some changes. We're building. You gotta have a soccer field if you live anywhere near Latin America, right? It's awesome. So we're building that. But life is so good. I hope you are grateful to be alive. So actually, let's just pause. I love doing this. Absolutely love doing this. Just pause and just feel some gratitude. Just what are you feeling grateful for? Maybe you've been so busy today. You got your list of things. You've just been going hustle, 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 and maybe you haven't had a chance to slow down yet and just feel really deep gratitude for something very specific. In fact, we'd share. You can throw it in the chat box or jump on mic. What's something you feel super grateful for? And this isn't just like one of those foo la la practices like, oh yeah, okay, let's have a gratitude moment. Like this is a game. Excuse me. This is a game changer. Gratitude it changes everything. It's such a powerful perspective. The other morning I had a coaching session with a client who, and he's just crushing it, right? Making massive changes to his life and his business and just really succeeding in major ways. It's awesome. But he's pulling 16-hour days because he's actually running. he's learning really complex surgery right now and running multiple businesses. And so he's just swamped. And we stopped and we're like, you know what you need to dive into, brother? Is gratitude. Deep gratitude. And when we stop to be genuinely grateful, it shifts our whole paradigm, our whole reality. And you just stop and all the things you're frustrated about or things you might be complaining about, things that, because we all do this, right? It's focus. It's just human nature to not focus on the things that are going right, but focus on the few things that are going wrong. It's not to focus on what we have, but to focus on what we don't have. Right. And not to focus on how far we've come, but how far we still have to go. I mean, that's just our nature. It's all of us, right? Everyone's like, is he talking to me? Because it's just true for all of us. And so pausing just to stop and say, what am I really, truly grateful for? And fill your heart and soul and mind and body with gratitude. It just puts all those things to rest. And it just shifts our focus, right? It's so easy. You guys are familiar with the ancient story called the man with the muck rake. And muck is like sewage, right? And he just had his rake and he just down raking the muck, cleaning the streets, right? But he never looked up. And sometimes you feel like that, don't you? You're changing diapers, so you're literally in the muck. And you're running around like crazy. You're running errands for everybody. And you have this endless task of things. And every day you end your day like, I didn't get through my tasks. And then you have these moments when you don't feel like you're good enough, when you feel like no matter what you do, it's not enough. And you're trying and failing and you're trying to be healthy and you're trying to get your kids to listen and you're trying to change the world because I know what kind of people you are. And so we just have to stop and let our hearts and our minds just be filled with gratitude. So what are you grateful for?
Well, look at this comment here.
Whoa, comment. There was a shooting. Whoa. At our town's middle school last week. Unbelievable. I'm grateful that at the start of the school year, I felt impressed to transition my kids to some online classes so my son was at home when it happened. He won't have the visual trauma and have to deal with what so many other kids will. Plus, he was safe. Holy guacamole.
Wow.
You know, it's not the these shootings are pretty unique to the United States. It's wow.
I
We have
mean,
a big social
to be
something.
honest, I think in all of our travels, the one major concern I had was when we were living in the United States, I was afraid of shootings.
Man,
That's the one people always ask, have you ever felt unsafe? And I never answer this, but I should answer this. I'm like, yeah, when I go to the States, I feel scared to go to malls and stuff. I'll see people driving around with like a gun on the back of their truck. And I'm like, are they going to do a shooting? I get afraid.
It's interesting. It's an indication of something bigger. But anyways, that's not our topic tonight. Let's keep going.
Sorry, how do I get the link?
Grateful for family right there on the green thing. Right there, boom. Grateful for family. Did he message me?
Yeah.
Watch this. Boom. Sorry, we got somebody trying to get in here. And boom. And then we need the number. Sorry, guys. We're going to do this real quick. Wait a minute. That's a different. Oh, no. 263,050. Go. So, family, life, this amazing world, and you guys. Thanks. We're grateful. We're genuinely grateful for you guys. Love this stuff. Also grateful for you guys and the progress I've made over the last year on myself with family. Yeah. Grateful for sunshine. Today I've been feeling like all the kids were fighting nonstop. I was getting annoyed with them. So we went outside. I was honestly just so grateful we could have good weather so we could all go out and not jump down each other's throats. It helped me feel like I could have a mom win today.
Oh, good.
Nicely done.
Mm-hmm.
Nicely done. Grateful for my children. They're happy, obedient, self-motivated. When things are falling apart around me, I realize that I'm grateful I have stuff problems and not major problems with my children. Oh, man, beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. Doesn't it feel good to be grateful, you guys? Doesn't it feel good just to be alive and just lean in and count, pause to count and take notice of all the amazing things that we have in life? You guys know our story of our car accident in Alaska. It was a terrible, terrible car accident. And our little 3-year-old Aaliyah was ejected from the car.
Who's now 14.
Snapped her femur in half. I was just thinking about right now, because our older kids are off leading a trip. The 3 older ones are leading a trip for youth and young adults right now.
Guatemala.
They're in Guatemala. We haven't seen them for a few days.
So today they climbed a volcano.
Yeah, they went and climbed a volcano.
Group.
It's awesome. So all the 3 older kids are out. And so Aaliyah is now our oldest one this week. And she's at 14. And just the sweetest, toughest, most loving, ambitious, driven, beautiful, awesome young woman. And just so grateful. And we were within inches and moments of losing her. And I think of that all the time. Just reminded that all the time. We could have lost her. And she's with us and she's amazing and she's healthy and strong. And she was just out. We put up an aerial silks tower in our backyard and she was just out doing aerial silks right now. This is so awesome. So just it's so fun to pause to be grateful. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Tonight, you guys want to do some Q&A. I want to open up and let you ask questions. Anything about life and anything goes.
Q&A and coaching.
And coaching, yeah. Anyone who wants some coaching and like, hey, what can I do this? And we'll do some coaching. Or if you want to get in the throne of awesomeness is what we call it. It's not the hot seat, it's the throne of awesomeness. And we can do some coaching individually, or we can do some Q&A and just throw stuff out. Anything's free game, from marriage and sex and kids and money, travel.
If you want to ask something anonymously, you can send a private.
Just send us a private message, open chat, and then click the little button where it says everyone, and you can just pick us, and you can send us a private one, and we'll do the coaching or answer the question privately. If you want to stay anonymous, but let's just have an awesome discussion. What's on your mind? What's in your hearts? What is it you want to focus on, want some work on, what some training,
What are
right?
you
It's
struggling
all, yeah, what are you struggling with? What are you stressed about? It's all about training, you guys. All about training. I have to remind us of this every time we meet. I remind myself of this every single day, that it's just everything's training. We don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. And excellence, like Will Durant told us, excellence is not an act, but a habit. And it is won through habituation and training.
I just read, I think this morning in this app, I have this app I use for my habit, like a habit tracker app. And it was a quote by Aldous Huxley, which he wrote Brave New World.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, it was like basically the idea that you reach a point where your ceiling becomes your floor. And we've talked about that a lot, right? We've talked about the ceiling and the floors. But it was cool to, I didn't know where that source came from, but it was a quote from Aldous Huxley. So
Where the concept there is where you feel like you're trying to make progress, you keep hitting against this ceiling.
Sorry.
Right. And many of us, you guys, have paper ceilings. That's a concept, that's an idea. A paper ceiling is like, you feel like you're like, oh, I can't go any higher, when really it's just a paper ceiling. It's not a real ceiling. It's just something you've created. We all have these paper ceilings, or these ceilings where you're struggling to get above. But then once you break through that, you establish some training and some habits, then you actually stand on top of that ceiling. And what used to be a ceiling to you now becomes a floor, and you're ready to go to your next level.
Here's the exact quote. It's much better. Every ceiling, when reached, becomes a floor upon which one walks.
Ooh,
that's good.
That's good.
The app I use, it's called Fabulous.
Because Rachel is fabulous.
It's cool. They have a free version. I actually paid for it because I liked it so much. But it's just a habit tracker. It just has you. Well, what it does is when you launch you create a routine, and when you launch it, it actually opens up. So you it makes it so your phone, like, this is what you're doing right now. Like, you're not switching around, you're doing this. So it's kind of cool.
Helps you focus.
Focus.
What do you got, guys? Questions? Go for it.
I wanted to share a small success, I guess. I have lots of things that are still so not going well, and I'm just trying to keep my mind focused and get there. But one thing seems to be working a little bit, and that's really awesome. And so this is systems, where we've had a little bit of a struggle the last little bit keeping the house clean. It's gone sort of in waves, depending upon how adamant my wife is about keeping things clean, and she will let things go for a little bit, and then she'll go on a rampage, and it's just no fun. And I've been trying for a while to say, instead of doing this thing, let's just develop a system. And she finally kind of let me do that. And so we now have tied to electronics privileges that no one in the house is allowed to use electronics until the kitchen's been clean after a meal. And then after we got that down for about a week or two, then we added the girls' bedroom. And so we're just slowly moving, but it's just so nice that now most of the time the house is generally cleaned up. It doesn't always work after dinner because there's no electronics after dinner. And so people are like, fine around.
What's the point? I clean up,
but it's been
advice.
But it's been so nice. Anytime I start to get frustrated, I just step back and be like, wait a minute, there's a system in place, and they have if they don't get to cleaning up until 9 or 10 or 11, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And if they decide, hey, we really want electronics, we're going to do this fast. And today was the first time after lunch, we were cleaned up in 10 minutes. And it was okay. It's good. And so it's still not perfect, but it's just so nice to be able to step back and say, I don't have to get frustrated. Just let the system do its work, and to watch it actually
Yes.
work a little bit.
Whoa, yeah,
Yes,
brother.
that is
Nicely
awesome.
done.
I
Wow.
love that.
Another
Love
witness to powerful systems, man. And what's interesting, you guys, this is worth revisiting for all of us. Every single one of us operates on systems all the time. We're always operating on systems, but most of us wouldn't call it a system.
Mhm.
Yelling at your kids, like waiting, getting frustrated, then yelling, that's a system. You're trying to ignore it and then giving the dad lecture, oh, that's a system, right? And those are systems that don't work, right? Those are systems of sabotage. And so, spanking the kids and waiting until things boil over and then exploding and losing it all over your kids, right? Those are systems.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we pause and say, wait a minute, this is a pattern I'm noticing here. What can I do differently? And I love the simplicity of what you did, Nathan. Like, it is just one thing. Just pick something. And it might be like, hey, if you want to play with your friends later, these things have to be done.
Yeah,
That's
whatever
it. Boom,
it is
done.
that motivates them, which nowadays is very often a device because there's so many options of things to do on there, but it works great when you do that, when you set it up like that. And again, I was communicating with a mom on Instagram today. I'm like, I use screen time passwords and downtime to my benefit. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to get mad at them. I don't have to, make sure the chores get done. When they come to me and they're like, Mom, do the password. And I said, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done that? As soon as you've done those things, you can get the password. And it works so great. I don't have to, like you were saying, I don't have to worry about it. When they are motivated to get on their device, they're motivated to do their stuff because they can't without the password. So I love that.
This is true for all of us. This isn't just some thing we make.
Manipulation.
Yeah, it's not a manipulation. It's not something we make up, right? So if you're sitting there strategizing, oh, I'm not going to let my kids do this until they do that. You don't have to do that because it's life. The key to a successful and happy life is to prioritize your life. This is what I do with my coaching clients all the time. This is what we do with you guys. It's what we do with ourselves. The key to success in life is to prioritize your life. We all have lots of things we want to do and need to do. And those who really succeed, in fact, true high performers that are just crushing it, they are really prioritized. They operate from a list. So this is like bonus material right here, you guys, tonight. They operate from a list. They usually make the list the evening before and then revisit it in the morning, and they prioritize the list. What's the most important thing that has to be done? Willing to neglect other things on the list. This is critical. And so you're like, no, this thing needs to be done before I get to do this thing. And we ought to be
the kitchen.
Right. And we ought to be disciplining ourselves anyways as adults, right? As responsible people taking extreme ownership of our life. I'm gonna discipline myself. No, you don't just get to sit there and whatever, scroll or watch TV or I don't know, whatever you guys want to do, whatever your thing is, no, you don't get to do that until you've done what you got to do first.
But I think in that way, and again, it depends on how you view it. In that way, it can become a reward. So same thing, with the kids, cleaning up the kitchen, the reward is device usage, right? Same with us. Once you do your thing that you need to do, the reward is whatever it is you want to do. That's in essence the discipline in my mind.
And so see what has to happen.
Laura says, I'm on Zoom. You keep cutting out. Anyone else cutting out? Sam?
I've had you been freezing from time to time. Yes.
We're just struggling too. Yes.
Okay, we're going to turn off our video.
Let's use your hotspot. Our house internet is not the best. I just bought some solder so we could use mine if you want.
But I'm not sure.
Hold on one second.
Enough to do that, and it may drop everybody. So if you join it, sorry, we're going to have a little technical thing here and try to improve this.
It's not picking up your hotspot
because it's not on.
Oh, turn it on. Let's just try it. I think it will switch just fine.
Okay, hold on, a little pause here. See if we can get better better
Internet.
internet.
Oh, we're in Guatemala. Laura was asking.
Okay, now we're
Okay,
using
we
a
switched to
a
network.
different
So
network source. Hopefully this works better. You guys let us know if it's working better. So again, just it's a really powerful strategy. Teach it to your kids and implement it the right way, right? This can be a good system can be implemented very poorly, right? So the way you do it, if your system becomes a battle, if you're fighting with your kids about it, then it doesn't work and they're going to resent it. They're going to resent the systems, the lesson, and you.
Exhausting for
Yeah,
you.
exactly. then you're just like, right? So just implement it and just with a smile and with love say this is our new rule so we can live great lives, so we can be prioritized,
So we can have a clean house, so we can, yeah, whatever it is.
do the things we need to do before. Life isn't just like entertaining yourself all the time, right? So teach it the right way. That's really good.
And then Laura has a follow-up question, which is great. My kids could care less about electronics. What other things have you found that positively motivate your kids? Well, I think it really just depends on every kid. For me, it just comes down to paying attention. Like I just pay attention to what my kids are interested in. Now, I also have another quandary there is like electronics can be so like, what does that mean? And there's also a lot that's there. Like there's an endless variety of things you can do on electronics. So if your kids aren't into electronics, maybe they just not that you have to get them into electronics, but there's a lot of stuff on the internet you could find and passions and purpose. Like my son watches YouTube videos on blacksmithing and sword making. And, you know, my other daughter watches Ariel Silk's videos on Instagram and YouTube. And so there's a lot of passions and interests there that they could pursue, whether that's on electronics or not.
From my perspective, though, it's not coming up with something.
Yeah.
It's observing
I guess
something.
I'm saying it's paying attention. It's
watching. Like, well, what?
I don't have to come up with something to motivate them. I just have to look at what motivates them and then use it as leverage, not manipulation, use it as leverage to get them to do the things they want to do while at the same time
And we're back.
Sorry, guys. Wow. Turn that off. Okay. Guatemala. You still need to turn that off. It's like echoing.
Yeah. How do I?
Okay. What I was saying, it's a matter of finding what motivates them. So you're observing and watching and paying attention to what motivates them. And just turn it down all the way. And I lost my thought. Dang it. What was the other thing? Oh, I totally lost it. Finding what motivates them. Oh, and using it as leverage. That was the other thing. Okay, so it's not manipulation. It's using it as leverage and teaching the principle. So as far as teaching the principle goes, that goes like for me, this is what I've used in my family. I've had my kids, or as a family, we've watched Marie Kondo's Tidying Up and Hoarders. Okay, that's teaching the principle. When my kids are like, I don't want to clean up. Why do we have to clean up? I say, well, which do you want to be? Do you want to be like Marie Kondo, you know, the life-changing magic of tidying up? Or do you want to be like a hoarder? Because that's the principle. The long-term consequences of not cleaning up is essentially like hoarding, right? So when I teach my kids that principle, and then I use something that they're interested in as leverage, that's what works. That's a system that works, because they say, well, I want to do this thing. I want to get on my device. I want to play with my friends. I want to read this book. I want you to, will you buy me this book? Will you buy me this Audible book? Will you buy me this thing? You know, even if it's for school or something, will you buy me this drawing course? Well, yeah, but have you done these things? Right? It's this agreement. We're entering into an agreement. I'm providing benefits for their life, and in return, and I teach that principle too.
Yeah.
It's not just because I'm the mom and you owe me in this. I teach the principle. Well, I'm providing this and this and this. These are the benefits you're getting. So how are you going to be like, you know, compensating for those benefits? Right? So it's this give and take relationship. So as far as the training, I do have.
Well, let's do it right now. Hold up. Let's do it right now.
Okay.
I wanted to make this real, because all of you might be listening and some of you might be like, oh, it's kids. Some of you are like, no, I got this. Like, I want this to get real right now and relevant. In fact, if we are going to be successful parents or successful leaders or successful business owners, or even just successful at managing and directing our own lives, right? Being really good at being self-directed and self-government, we have to figure this out. We have to get clear about what needs to be done and why. Some of you are doing stuff that doesn't need to be done. Like the worst, the worst ineffectiveness is doing things well that don't need to be done at all. Like that's a problem, right? So some of you are doing things that don't need to be done. Some of you are struggling to get things done. And some of you, I'm going to guess here, are chronically struggling with things. You've wanted to get things done for a long time, and you've wanted to be consistent or effective at certain things. And it's been a struggle for a long time. So here's what I want to do right now.
Let's do a check. Is everyone still having a problem hearing us, freezing and cutting out for me too?
Oh man. So we're
More
gonna
of that than good audio.
we're gonna try to pause the video for a little bit. How's the audio? Is the audio better like this? Anything, give us a thumbs up.
Well, so far, but we're gonna have to go for 30 seconds.
So far, but
Okay.
talk longer.
Let's try the video off for a little bit and try the audio. So sorry, you guys. We actually have been working on the internet situation here for 8 weeks. No joke. 8 weeks.
8 weeks we've been trying to get better internet. And he keeps saying, oh yeah, it's better now. It's better. We're like, nope, it's not better.
Wow.
So
Okay.
we're just rambling right now to see if the audio is working. So
let's do this right now. I want everyone to think about something that needs to be done better in your home. Let's just go with homes right now. Actually, you can pick anything in your life. Maybe it's a business system. Maybe it's an organization system you work with, some kind of leadership role, or maybe it's in your home. But everybody pick something right now and we'll share. So pick one or two things that need to be done better. Let's pick.
and let
Let's
us
get
know
that all
if you
dialed
can
in.
hear us or not. Lost you again. Okay, let's try and get on our phone. Hold on, we're gonna try and get on our phone.
Yeah. On my phone, and we're doing audio. Yeah. Okay. We'll go
Okay.
like this.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to try video on your phone too?
Maybe.
Ooh.
Should we try
The
video?
phone internet is usually a little better.
Okay, we're gonna roll like this for
We'll
a little
try
bit, you
this.
guys, and see how it goes.
Let
Okay.
us know.
So here's what I want to do. What we want to invite you to do. Pick something in your life. It can be in your home. It can be an organization you work with. It can be in a business. Whatever it is. Pick something in your life that needs to be done better, and some kind of system, especially if it includes getting other people involved. And we're like, let's do this. Let's do it. Like this will be like coaching. It's like group coaching here. So everybody pick
Okay.
something that needs to be done better in your life.
Because of the audio issues, you may have not.
Here instead of coming out of my mouth. Okay. So audio, is this working?
Testing.
Yes.
Testing.
Yay. Okay. We're going to keep going like this. So what we're doing, and we just, some of you probably heard it and like, okay, for the fourth topic, in area, home, business, organization,
Where
community,
system. You want
whatever.
better system.
Where, yeah, some area of your life where it just needs to be done better. And we're gonna walk through this process together to create better systems, right? And please do this. Don't just
We're just gonna cry.
the audio is cutting.
Oh, you
Okay.
were just saying
All
we're
right.
gonna cry?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Do you hear us? We're gonna cry.
You're gonna hear us crying.
Okay.
That's what you're gonna hear.
Okay. So everyone share. What area of your life needs to be done better?
What
Everyone
system?
pick one. Well, we're going to get into systems, but you start with, like, from in my mind at least, you start with like, what needs to be done better? What needs to be done better?
And then you make a system.
Okay, get even more. Laura says chores for the kids. Get more specific.
What chores? When?
Yeah, what specific things are not being done like you'd like them to do? Feeding the kids. Get even more specific.
Feeding them when? Feeding them what? Feeding them how?
What's challenging?
What's not working?
This is perfect, you guys. This is perfect because all of us start too big, too broad. And it's so hard to wrap our minds around it.
That's why we don't create the systems, because we're like, oh, I need a chores for my kids system. That's like huge. That's like overwhelming. But when you're like, I want my kids to clean up the kitchen after they eat, that's specific, right?
This is fantastic. Keep them coming, you guys. Keep them coming. And keep dialing and get real specific here. Okay, earning screen time for my son, but ideas are already coming after hearing about mealtime cleanup. Also, how to better connect with my husband at the end of his stressful days. Boom, that's a good one. We're going to go with that one. In fact, Rachel and I have a podcast coming soon to the Extraordinary Family Life podcast. We're going to talk about, we're going to do one together about really connecting. Well, it's marriage, men, women connecting, how to make that all work right and well and awesome. Keep them coming. Can you guys still hear us? Now we're operating blind here. Okay, my kids don't have regular chores and our home is chaos. Boom. There's your system. That's the current operating system you have in place. The kids don't have regular chores, the home is in chaos. keep making lists. Can't even believe it's the Wi-Fi and the cellular. This
Sometimes this country
is crazy.
drives us crazy. Not gonna lie. Talk about failing systems.
Yeah.
The
Oh my
infrastructure in
goodness.
Guatemala is a failing system.
So this is a big government failing system. We're going to come back to that. We'll come back to the kids. We'll come back to the kids when it's chores.
Maybe you should just go with it now.
Okay, let's go with it. All right, let's go with it. So here we go. That's your current system, right? And wait, can you guys hear me? This is so sad and frustrating. And we're so sorry. Back again. Okay, gone again, back again, gone again, back again. We're here and then we're gone. Okay, well, I'm gonna roll with this. Hopefully you catch a lot of it. So if you pause right there, thank you. We need some tech angels and some good vibes. So if you pause right there, there's the indication of the problem. And if I might very lovingly to all of you, may I receive this please with a big bear hug from Greg, right? Just a big loving bear hug. And I'm just going to say, take ownership of this. Like if it's not working, just stop. And I just want to say, okay, it's you. Okay. Like I'm doing that with total love. This is not guilt tripping.
I'm going to chime in here because this is how I've been able to create success in my systems every time. Because I remember back in the day, I hate when I interrupt myself like that, but I remember back in the day when I was a younger mom and it's all about the questions you ask yourself or the things you say to yourself. And I used to say, why does nobody do this? Why does nobody finish? Why does it take so long? Why isn't this happening? And I started to change that. And I started to ask different questions. How can I help my kids learn how to do this thing? How can I train my kids to pick up their clothes? And I changed the question I was asking. And I took 100% ownership for saying, if this isn't working, if I'm doing the charts and I'm doing all the things and I have the lists, etc., and it's not sticking, what am I not doing that's making it not stick? Where am I failing to follow up? Where am I not providing enough accountability? Where am I not having enough leverage? Where am I not providing enough reward? Okay. This is part of being a diplomat in your home. You have to find, and again, some people would use the word manipulation, whatever. If that's the word you want to use, fine. But diplomacy is about finding out what motivates the other person, your child, and using that to help them do what you want them to do, which is also good for them. I think the case with manipulation is getting people to do things that may be bad for them. But that's not the case with us as parents. We're not trying to get them to do drugs or something, right? We're trying to get them to do their chores, which is going to help them to be a responsible, functioning adult. So that's why it's diplomacy. We have to figure out what it is that motivates them and how we can use that as leverage to get them to do what they should do and what I want them to do. Because I only want them to do it because it's something they should do to be a fully functioning adult, right? So it always would come back when it was working effectively. Not saying I've always done this because I'm not perfect. When my systems work effectively, it comes back to me saying, what am I not doing that's making the systems fall apart? Where am I not following through? Where am I not holding them accountable? What am I missing that's not keeping them motivated? Because if my kids, if they took hours to get something done, like the dishes, I'd be like, man, whatever it is I'm telling them they can do after the dishes are done, they must not want to do that. Because if they really wanted to do it, they'd be done in 10 minutes. So in that case, I'm going to find something different. And I don't care what it is. I will literally use anything that motivates my kids, I will use. Now, some people call that bribery. It's not, it's leverage. I'll use chocolate. I will use money. I will use whatever it is that motivates that kid. I will use it.
Just to get the training in
Now,
place.
especially to get the training in place. Once the training's in place and it becomes a habit, you often don't have to do it because now it's just a habit. And now when I say, oh, hey, kitchen cleanup, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. That's what we do. Because now it's a habit. But to initiate the habit, to put the habit in place, there has to be leverage. Because of, intrinsic versus extrinsic rewards. Children are not intrinsically motivated. They're in their little heads, they're not thinking, oh, I want to be a fully functioning adult who knows how to clean up after themselves, so I should do my chores. No, they don't think like that. They think, I want to do my thing that I want to do. So they have to have an extrinsic reward to do the thing that you want them to do.
Just like you and I do, right? I think one of the most important elements here is understanding it. Like if your staff or your team, your employees or your kids are struggling to do things, they don't understand it yet. They don't get the why.
Yes, that's a part of it.
Like
one,
they
don't
have
get
to
the
know
why, and two, they don't have a motivator strong enough to make them want to do it.
And so, like, if you're taking notes here, those are the big elements. They have to understand it. They have to have a motivation. And I'm going to put this all squarely on your shoulders. You have to be consistent. You have to hold them accountable.
Because oftentimes I've found when I've had charts or lists or whatever for chores, usually when it failed, it's because I wasn't checking up on the charts. Just having the charts doesn't make it work. What makes it work is when I follow up on the chart. And sometimes that meant I had to follow up every day. And sometimes it was every week. But if I didn't follow up on the chart, then the stuff didn't get done. So yes, it places more responsibility on you, especially up front.
Yep.
Now there's a lot less responsibility because my kids are trained well enough to be able to do things in a semi-competent manner, right? Mostly competent manner. But it takes initial upfront extra effort to get that going. And so often the reason why it's failing is because understandably as a mom, we're like, this is tiring and exhausting. And
this gets into Deb's comment, I'll just go ahead and do it. Right. and you moms and with dads too, right? You're like, it's not worth the fight. I'm just going to do it. But that's the system.
That's where the training begins to fail because then you're now training your kids to constantly do that.
So that you end up doing it, right? You've got to draw this line. And here's the point, Deb, I love your comment. You're trying to find this balance between grace, right? And just doing the work that's hard. And, then shifting direction until it feels more natural, easy. So the way to navigate that is get clear with yourself and with everybody. Everybody has to understand it, and everybody has to buy in. There's got to be graceful. I'll just go ahead.
We're back.
Are you hearing us now? Yeah. Okay. You can be loving. You can be kind. You can be patient.
You can have grace with
you
them.
Can still get along. You can still be graceful, but do not let up on the accountability. This is where, if I can be totally blunt here, this is where we see parents failing contention. You set a standard and to make sure there's understanding, right? Golly, you guys, I wish there was some way I could come spend a day with all of you in your house and just observe. And sometimes it's so hard to see the blind spots, right? And I wish I could just stand in the corner and just kind of watch and like, oh, there it is. There it is. It was the way you presented that. Or it's like, oh, you're trying to enforce this, but it's not working like this. Just tweak it like that, right? There's these little tweaks and you gotta do it. But please, please, please be more consistent in your accountability yourself.
Well, and yeah, Britta brings up a great point here that yes, not having the systems that don't work is hard. It's not easy because the house is in chaos and the kids aren't doing anything and all that. But so is setting up the system. Setting up the system and following through and being accountable. It is hard. But the question is, what long-term results do you want? That's what it comes down to. I can't even tell you. Like I empathize with you guys because I have felt that. There have been times when I'm like, I just wish someone else would take over my job. Because here's another insight that was fascinating. I think, it was in 2020. It was right before COVID, February. Greg and I took a couples trip to Thailand for 2 weeks. And we left our kids home alone, all alone. Our oldest was 17 at the time. And our youngest was 4. Oh, 3. So 3 to 17. We left our 7 kids home alone for 2 weeks. It went great.
They rocked it.
But here was what's fascinating. My oldest daughter said, when I got back, she's like, I didn't ever really realize that like managing the chores was like a chore. It was like a job. And she's like, I got to experience firsthand. I'm like, now I know what you do, Mom. Like you have to manage all the chores and all the jobs. That's a thing. And so I get it that it can get tiring and you can be like, oh, I just wish they would do it without me having to manage the system. But that's not realistic. That's like saying, oh, I just wish my business would run itself. Like, we all wish for that, but it's not going to happen. There has to, just like in a school, just like in any system, there has to be administration. Your job is the role of administration. And while it seems tiring and hard sometimes, not doing it is also hard.
It's harder.
And in fact, harder in the long run. So, yeah, you either have to put in the work now or you put in the work later, but you have to put in the work.
Supper. So here's the thing I want you to do. Each of you, I hope if each of you pick something, we're going to scroll back up and hit some of the other things that were shared. But I want you, because you have this genius inside of you. You've got inner genius. You just got to tap into it. So right now, our invitation is tap into your inner genius. Go into your mind palace and say, what is a system? What's a new system? Because you're already operating in the old system. What's a new system that would help me effectively improve this area of our family life? And I want you to jot down those ideas while we go up and kind of go through some of these things. And then we want to share your systems, share your ideas, because we're going to get tons of insights together from this. And then we'll do some coaching around it. But like our goal tonight, you guys, is that every one of you has a new system to begin implementing tonight or tomorrow morning.
Administrating.
Like you you take responsibility for this and you're like, okay, this is going to happen. Right. I love this. Love this. Love this.
That one.
Well, let's read these other ones down here and we'll come back. So here's another one. Business. Keeping track of clients and their sessions and their session notes. I email to them. It's just emails. I don't have digital folders. The tech pieces seem overwhelming to learn and keep up with. Doing groups is the way to head to be able to scale, but that feels overwhelming also. Okay, great.
So yeah, great. I'm gonna connect this right now to what we talked about just a second ago. And that's, you either have to do the work now or you have to do the work later. So oftentimes it feels overwhelming to learn something new or to adopt a new software program or whatever, do something like doing groups. It seems overwhelming, but not doing it also
It's even more
can be overwhelming.
Oh man.
So it's a matter of, if you need a system for what you're doing, then first of all, I guarantee somebody's already invented it and is offering it right now, available on the internet. And if it seems overwhelming to learn it, well, that's okay. But learning it, that's the thing, guys. I guess this is what I want to emphasize. Systems. Okay, I love this phrase. I got this years ago from Stephen R. Covey. Simplicity is on the far side of complexity. Okay, when I talk about having systems in my business, in my home, all of these things, I have this beautiful simplicity in my life. But guess what? It only came by going through the complexity of creating the system. So that's really the only way through it. Like, you have to go through the complexity before you get to the simplicity that you really want. But we think if we avoid the complexity that we're going to end up with simplicity, and that's not true. We actually end up with more chaos. We end up with more complexity by not being willing to go through the complexity of getting to the simplicity. Hopefully that makes sense.
Whoa, did you guys just hear that? That was good. Woo! If we avoid the complexity, if we avoid the overwhelm, if we avoid what we don't know or understand or what intimidates us, then we always just operate in chaos. So actually, just to be brief here, Deb, I'll share what I did. And because I was dealing with the same thing years ago. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't be all over the place. So I used Google Drive. I created a folder for coaching. Under that folder has multiple folders. One of them is client folders. Then into that, each client has a folder. And inside the folder for that client, I track each session. So I'll say John, session 1, and I'll take detailed notes and then take some of the notes from that session and send out the email. And then I'll copy paste that email down below. And then the week later, John, session 2. And I take detailed notes and send out an email, right? And so that, I just created some folders in Google Drive. You could literally, in 30 minutes of playing around with it and kind of setting things up, 30 minutes, 60 minutes at most, you've got totally dialed in folders, systems, templates, everything set up. And now it's completely organized. And you can go, oh man, what did I talk about with Sally in session 3? You just go back, there it is, open up your folders, boom, it's all there, all the notes. And everything's there. So it's just spending a little more time being strategic. You guys, that's what I just shared right there is a principle for all of our lives. Like, what are we doing?
Well, and again, I want to emphasize this again, because I think it's very important and critical, and that many people do this, myself included. We feel like something's overwhelming, so we want to avoid it. When really, I've learned through experience, it's often something that's overwhelming, that feels overwhelming, that's actually going to help me grow and level up. That overwhelm is the ceiling. You're touching your ceiling, and if you push through it, it's going to become your floor. And now you're on the far side of complexity, standing on simplicity. But it happens by pushing through the overwhelm and moving ahead anyways.
I'm gonna hit the food thing next, because I know Sam brought up, feeding the kids, and I know a lot of moms, a lot of parents are like, oh, it's such a huge chore. I got to do the shopping. What should I make? I don't want to spend all this time making it. And it becomes this huge burden to feed your family. And then if you have a big family like ours that eats like horses, like, whoa.
Not that we eat horses, we eat as much as horses.
Much as horses. Like it gets crazy. So you just pause and say, what's a system around food? You're like, okay, well, first thing is, what do I want to feed them? Well, healthy food. Well, what healthy food? I don't know what healthy food. And this is where we get ourselves into trouble. It's where we slip into this operating in self-sabotage of saying things, and we'll keep coming back to it. I don't know what to feed my kids. And then, you'll think about it, you get something, then 2 weeks later, you're like, what should I feed them? I don't know what to feed my kids. So instead of just chronically struggling with, what do I feed my kids? I don't know what to feed my kids. You do it once and be done with it. This is a more effective system. You guys with me?
Or I'm going to add to your idea, or you do it in chunks.
Well, that's what I mean.
Oh, wow.
So keep going.
So you do it in chunks, meaning, okay, what do I want to feed my kids? Well, more vegetables. I'll just start with that because I know that's an easy answer, right? And so then maybe I'll look up one vegetable recipe. And then because I like to do things at the same time, I look up the recipe, I post it in my phone notes under recipes, and then I look up all the ingredients and I add them to cart on my Walmart cart app.
Delivery.
And then I have it delivered to my house. There I go. I've taken one step. Now, every time that I need to buy more groceries, I just add a little bit more to that. Okay. Last time I did broccoli, what cauliflower recipes, or what zucchini, or what carrot, or whatever. And I just go bit by bit. And then soon over time, I have a collection of recipes, and I have a system for getting the groceries delivered to my house quickly every week. And as soon as I'm out of something, I'm out of toothpicks. I add it to cart right then. And when I'm ready to order, everything I have in cart gets ordered and delivered to my house. So you're taking something that, again, seems overwhelming and breaking it down bit by bit, piece by piece, into something that becomes manageable, and then over time just becomes automatic and systematized. Does that make sense? You kind of just went off on the feeding.
Woo, but I love this one. And again, so what we do is, if we come across a recipe that we like, we're like, okay, add that to the file. And we have a document with delicious recipes. So when you're like, oh, what should I eat? And you're like decision fatigue. At the end of the day, you don't want, you're just like,
well, that's another thing I do with that system is I never decide right when everybody's hungry. I decide before, and at the very least, deciding before means I have the ingredients on hand for this recipe I pre-chose. And so then I'm like, oh, I've got the ingredients for this.
Let's go.
Good.
Boom. Now, Sam, this may seem crazy, but your oldest daughter, I know she's still young, but she's old enough to make some simple meals. So I would actually have her train her how to make a certain meal that she can make and be in charge of. And maybe she makes it a couple times a week. Maybe it's a lunch thing she likes. Maybe it's, I don't know. Our kids like quesadillas. And so our Sage, who's the same age, she will make little quesadillas, or she'll make certain things like
couscous.
They do couscous. So the two little girls, they love couscous. And so they'll heat up couscous and they'll get their milk in it and put a little maple syrup in it. And it's, pretty a decent, healthy thing. And they love it. Right. And they take care of it. So we don't have to feed the little girls because they feed themselves. And it was going through a little training. Sage is 7. She just turned 7. And so Sage will actually, she can make eggs. She can make sandwiches. She can make quesadillas. You guys, they're hilarious. They make fried cheese all the time
Oh, yeah.
because they just love fried cheese. So they'll grab.
So for the younger ones, they have their few things that they've learned how to make, and I know they can make them without making too much of a mess. And so if they're hungry, there are approved things. I will say, no, you can't have that because you don't know how to make that without making a mess or whatever. But there are certain things that they know how to make, and I'm like, yeah, go ahead, make that.
And so that's a form of outsourcing. And so we buy loads of apples. Apples are always available, and they can cut them up and dip them in peanut butter. We buy celery. We buy pepino, it's just cucumber. We buy cheese sticks. We buy, and you find as many healthy things as you can and outsource them and have available. And say, if the kid, I'm hungry, what can I eat? Like, okay, here's the things. You know how to do that already. Go ahead and do it. And then they can start making their own food, and they actually like it, and it frees up time and space for you. So there's some systems right there. There's a couple of things. I wanted to hit this one about time management, and then about your husband. That's a good one. Time management. Trying to find time for me, one-on-one time for each kid, working on business things. Oh yeah, you are busy, girl. Taking time to read my books, cooking, cleaning, learning new skills. I just feel like I can't do it all. Is this an example of what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just listed everything. Yes. So Abby, spot on. And Britta's like, yes, Abby. You are ambitious, driven, wonderful, amazing people who want to do a lot of things. And I'm telling you, like Rachel and I are reaching out effective systems.
Don't cry, babe. Don't cry.
I'm just quick yes, because this one's going to be important. It was just for anticipation. Still waiting for a response. Give us a quick yes if you can hear us. Yay, we're back.
Good.
Okay.
Yay.
Okay, so back to the thing is what Rachel and I were both saying is like,
Well, you were saying, oh, great, and you will get more done than you now think is possible with less stress when you have good systems in place.
So let's kind of walk through this one. Are you guys okay with this? Like, let's walk through this time management one, because I think I know a lot of you, and I think most of you can relate to this. You definitely, most of you, I'm going to just be bold enough to say, most of you are not making enough time for yourself. You're not doing enough self-care and solo time. One-on-one time with each kid, right? Working on business stuff, taking time to read books, cooking, cleaning, learning skills, all that stuff, right? So as Rachel's saying, the only way to make this happen, and it's totally possible. In fact, I think if you have this drive and passion to do this and take on that list of tasks, like you almost have this moral obligation to figure out how to do it and to make the most of yourself. Like that list right there, that's a great list. And I think all of them are things like, hey, let's figure this out. So my first suggestion is that list is a weekly list.
That was going to be my first suggestion, babe.
Woo!
Yeah. Yes, you have to learn to think of it time think it every Guatemala. Try that one. Oh. Turn that off. There we go.
Okay, we're gonna try this audio. Can you hear us now? We're gonna try to switch a little bit and see if we can keep going here. We're so sorry, you guys. Thanks for being so patient.
Yes.
Can you hear us? Anyone? Is there anyone out there that can
Are
hear
we just
the sound of my voice? Are we alone in the universe?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Yay.
good.
Okay. So now we're just gonna roll with this thing.
Oh, leave that on just in case.
Okay. So
Back to it's something you can do in a week. And then the other thing is some of the things just need to be done in small chunks of time, like reading books. You can read a book every single day, even if it's for, I'm going to say 2 minutes, even if it's 2 minutes, which gradually grows into 5 minutes and then 10 minutes and then 15 minutes. Okay. Learning new skills every single day. Okay. Greg's on a 450-day streak of Duolingo. I'm on 303 days.
and she practices the flute
And I
every
practice
day.
the flute for 15 minutes a day. Okay, so you can take things like that, learning a skill or reading a book, and chunk it into a small, doable chunk that you just add to your routine. And it's something that then becomes kind of like a break or self-care or whatever. And your kids just get to know, oh, I'm doing my Duolingo now, right now. So, give me a break, give me a minute. I'm doing this. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah. That's what you do. You do your Duolingo every day.
Can I let me throw this in here as Rachel's kind of describing how to put this together. Here's one of the things. If I came to your house today to kind of go over this, I would say, show me your. You guys still hear us here? Now we're on this one. We're switching back.
It's like musical.
Yeah,
devices.
it's crazy. Like whatever one we're talking into, it just dies. Ugh. Okay, so we're gonna keep going. So if I came to your house, I would sit down and I'd say, okay, show me your schedule, and you will plan a schedule and a list that you're working from. I know this signal has to go from Guatemala or no the chat. Wait for it.
Anyone there? Maybe we're talking to ourselves now.
This is so ridiculous.
Can you type your question?
Yeah, type your question. Okay. How many of you have a schedule and a list that you're working from? That was my question. Sorry, it's cutting out. So, because if I came to your house, that's what I would ask for. Like, okay, show me your schedule, and where on your schedule are you fitting these things in? For some of you, the simplest part of a system and a strategy is actually just making a schedule.
And I'm going to add this because I used to think, well, partly because it's true. How can I have a schedule? I have kids. Right? Because you try to have the schedule and then somebody messes their diaper or they spill something or they need this or they fall down or they cry or like all these things that happen, right, with having kids, and that's normal. So
But what's funny about that is sometimes we all are like, what? That happened again? It threw off my schedule. It's like we act like we're
like
shocked.
It's shocking every single time. But what I switched in my mind, that this is what ultimately helped me, is I came up with a routine. Okay. Now a schedule is fixed. The schedule is at 1 o'clock, I'm doing this. That is too structured for family life. Now, some things you have on your schedule, like we are doing coaching at 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday. Like that's on our schedule. That's the kids know that's on the schedule. But if you come up with a routine is flexible. A routine can adjust with the family life, but it still is a routine. So using my fabulous app that I talked about earlier, I have a morning routine. I have an education routine. I have a work routine, and then I have a bedtime routine. Now, sometimes I do the morning routine right before I go to bed because that's been my day, right? But the point is, whenever I get thrown off my routine because of interruptions from kids or whatever else is happening in life, I go back to the routine. I'm like, okay, I've been thrown off, back to the routine. What's next on the list? So then I'm never wondering, what do I do now? Or I'm never just going from thing to thing to thing to thing. Because yes, there's 1,000,001 things I could do right now with my time. Trust me. And the same is true with all of you. But if I work routine, which I pre-decided upon based on what was important to me and what goals I have and what I want to accomplish most with my time right now, then I don't have to wonder if I'm spending my time on the most important things, because I know I am. And instead of, going from laundry to dishes to cleanup to this to that to the other thing, I say, what's next on my list? I say that to myself all the time. Every single day, I'm asking myself, what's next on my list? And what I mean is, what's next on the pre-decided list I made about what's most important for me to accomplish, which is my routines. Okay. So that right there, that is my answer to how I do this, how I make time for myself. Every single day I have time for myself, how I have time with each of my kids, how I work on my business. How I read books. I do very little of that anymore. I'll come back. What am I not going to do anymore? Switching musical device. Okay. So I had to pick, and it's going to be different for every person. If you can't hear me, let me know. If you can hear me, let me know.
Give us a quick yes if you can hear us.
It's going to be,
there we go. Good. Okay.
It's going to be different for each person what you're not going to do anymore. Now, some of you might love cooking, and cooking is like self-care for you. That's great. Me, I love cooking when I can make gourmet food as slow as I need to make it. I don't like being rushed and, whatever. But that, more importantly, is I taught my kids to do cooking. And so they do more of the now, living in Guatemala, we actually have someone that cooks for us. So that's
awesome.
That's amazing. Right. But I decided that, I'm going to outsource cooking to my kids or to someone else. I'm going to outsource cleaning to my kids or to someone else, so that I have more time to spend on the things that I want to do more than that. So that's another key piece, is have to start. And I'm going to say this I'm going to just emphasize this, because I think more women need to really embrace this principle. You should be looking for for things that you can outsource and finding a way to outsource this. And your immediate thought might be, well, I can't afford that, or I can't do that.
I'm not
or
going to spend the money on me
blah.
for that.
No, change your thinking on that right now. Okay. You need to start thinking like that. And it doesn't mean you have to pay for it. Outsourcing doesn't always mean you're paying for it. It could be trading, or it could be training your kids. It could be a lot of different things, but you need to start thinking. For me, outsourcing will be something as simple as buying chopped vegetables instead of whole vegetables. And I used to think, oh, I don't want to buy the pre-cut vegetables because they cost more per pound. Who cares? That's outsourcing, because now you don't have to chop the vegetables, right? Sometimes it includes frozen food on occasion. Sometimes it includes like I just think that way now. Like, if this is going to save me time, I'm willing to spend the extra money on it because it's a form of outsourcing.
You're buying yourself time and freedom, which is the most valuable thing you have. Oh, that's good.
Okay, sorry, I
Okay,
interrupted your
so
thought.
now I always have to ask permission. And you guys know now you're trained. When I ask, may I be honest? You're like, oh boy, here it comes.
Right.
Okay, ready?
Wait, they didn't say yes, so maybe.
The response often is, oh, well, yeah, I do have a list, or yeah, I have a schedule, or even I have a routine, but we're inconsistent, or we don't hold ourselves accountable. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. And this is what I work on with my coaching clients as well. So step 1 is to make a schedule or a routine. And step 2 is to honor it. You have to honor the schedule or the routine, as Rachel explained, because it was, for like Abby said, it's a huge light bulb moment. Like, okay, right? You have to honor that. And here's what I want to say with just total loving bluntness. If you're not consistent in the things that matter to you, if you're not holding yourself accountable in the things that matter to you, you lack respect for yourself. And I say that in a loving way, but in an honest way. I'm writing a book for men. I've been working on it, and I do a workshop for men, and I have the masterclass for men. I'm like, this is a part of my life's work. And I've been working on the book, and one of the chapters is about respect, that real men are respectful. And the first place they are respectful is to themselves. They have self-respect. And it is an act of self-respect to honor your schedule, to work on your list, to hold yourself accountable.
And I just want to butt in here, because the reason why this is so critical is because if you make a list and a routine the right way, what you're doing is you're sitting down, you're hopefully connecting with your inner highest best self, and you're saying, what do I want to achieve? What do I want to do? Who do I want to become? And you're making a list based off of that. And then to go about your day and ignore that is essentially being disrespectful to yourself, to your highest and best self, at least.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because you're basically saying, hey, yeah, I know that I made this list that if I do all these things, it's going to help me become a better person and reach my goals and all that. But every single day, I don't have time for that. That means you don't respect who you can become. You don't respect the potential that you have. That's why it's so key and it's so critical. And we've taught this ever since the 28-day challenge and all of that. When you can make and keep small daily commitments, that's how you build self-confidence. That's how you build belief in yourself. Because how can you ever achieve your biggest goals and dreams if you can't do your to-do list every day? Mentally, psychologically, emotionally, you know that you can't because you don't do the basic everyday things that you say you're going to do. So that's where it starts. That's where it begins. It begins by honoring that routine and honoring that to-do list.
Yeah, who's feeling this? Woo! If anyone can actually even hear us.
If not, like, man, we're giving ourselves a good speech. This is great.
This is
Go Rachel.
Yeah. Well, we were self-motivating ourselves.
Self-motivating ourselves. That's right.
All right. Is this hitting home though? And like, and so in the most loving way, we're just saying to you, hey, respect yourself more. Respect yourself enough to do what you say you're going to do, to take care of yourself, to be your best self. Isn't that beautiful? And doesn't that just resonate? You're like, yeah, that's right. I've been disrespecting myself. Like I'll tell some of my clients that like it's also an act of disrespect to yourself when you eat junk food. When you put crap in your body, total lack of respect for yourself. So I have one client, a friend who's like, it's like, man, every time I go to like the donut truck pulls up in front of my office, I think, oh, Greg's I'm gonna have to go out there and disrespect myself. But it's true.
I'm disrespecting myself right now.
It's true. And so see it that way. Say, hey, wait a minute. If I don't follow through with the things that I know are really important to me, I'm not respecting myself enough. And I'm funny like this, you guys, like in my mind's eye, like I can see Rachel and I standing in the corner of your living room, kind of observing your day. And you guys know we're there and they're like, oh, I'm going to do this because they're there, they're watching. And so your kids come in, like they're interrupting you, like, no, not now. I'll get to that in just a minute because I have to finish what I said I was going to do. And we're over there in the corner watching. So you're like, oh no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to follow through because you know you would. And so do that for yourself. Do yourself that gigantic favor with love and respect. Create systems. I know, like you have genius and you're going to have the ideas and the brilliance, but you have to create the system and then you have to follow through. You have to follow through. So pick one thing, all of you pick one thing tonight that you're going to, and if maybe it's the thing you already said, but pick one thing where you're going to create a system and stick it.
I want to add this too, because it doesn't have to be overwhelming at the same time. Sometimes that's another reason we fail is because we create this list that's like physically not possible, right? And we're like, oh, I disrespected myself because I didn't keep this unrealistic list.
Great point.
Yeah. So we're not talking about that either. Like you also have to set expectations that are achievable, right? And then this works for me. Like this just works for me. Greg has a different approach sometimes, but and I've talked about this before, and it's the 2-minute rule. I still use that. Even today, I was like, I do not want to work out today. And I was like, 2 minutes, just do 2 minutes. And I always end up doing more, right? Same thing, flute, whatever it is. Just because, we do this stuff doesn't mean that it's always easy or we always want to do it. We still don't necessarily want to do it sometimes. I don't want to do my morning routine today, but I do it because I know it'll pay off. I know it brings the results I want. And so I have this little 2-minute rule in my head where I'm like, okay, I don't want to do it, but 2 minutes. And just getting started and doing it. 1, now I've done it. I've kept that commitment to myself. And 2, I've created momentum, and I usually do longer than the 2 minutes. And 3, I'm establishing a habit and I'm becoming that kind of person.
Ooh, which I have 2 clients that it was a real challenge to get them to work out consistently in the morning. They're busy business owners and executives, and it was a wrestle. And they're like, yeah, but I have to. They realized, they understood the principle, right? They made the commitment. It was relevant. They bought in, and they're like, yeah, I just have to do this. And for the first little bit, it was just tough. They're just like, oh, I'm just holding myself to do it. And both of them have now come back to me and they're like, no, it's not even a question. Like, not a question at all. Not a struggle. I get up and I work out hard. That's just what I do. Right. And they said, in fact, one of them said that exact phrase to me this morning. He's like, that's just what I do. And when I bring that up because what Rachel was saying is like, that's your way of being. You do it until it becomes a way of being, and your family gets it. It's just the way we do things, right? Then the whole family's like, oh, it's not hard anymore. That's just the way we do things.
Your
And so these
ceiling
systems
becomes your floor.
yeah. And then everything gets smoother and better. But our invitation is just to be way more strategic and thoughtful. Spend some time tonight setting up a system and then stick to it.
And I would say if you're not doing it, which if you're not being consistent, then you're probably not doing it. Get an app, get the 28-day habit tracker, right? Get something. Tracking just works. It works for me. Like tracking makes a big difference for me. When I'm tracking my habits, I'm more likely to do them because one, I have this weird thing about not wanting to, mess up the check marks or whatever. Like I want all the check boxes, all the boxes filled. I got to fill in all the boxes. Like I need to keep my streak. Like that's my little obsessive brain, but that helps me keep my habits going because I'm tracking it. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want to miss a day. Like, I got to do my thing so I can track it. So use something like that to also help you keep these small commitments to yourself. And again, they don't have to be huge. You don't have to be reading an hour from a book every single day. It can be small incremental steps. But the most important thing is not because it's small, you don't dismiss it as being inconsequential. It is important. It's consequential. So make it small, but then keep that commitment and do it. And again, I hope somebody's listening and I'm not just talking to ourselves.
If not, at least we're going to be reminded to track what we're doing. Okay. If you guys can hear us, I hope know how much we love you, think about you, and want you to just crush it. Thanks for being amazing humans. Oh, you're awesome. So again, like we can't.
And sorry for the crappy internet.
Sorry for that stuff. Oh, it's so frustrating. But we just can't emphasize enough. And we've seen this time and time again over the decades and across continents. Set up systems strategically and just follow through and watch how it transforms your life and your family culture and dynamics, and how you start getting more things done in a much easier way. Boom. Okay, that's it. Love you guys. Have an absolutely fantastic week. Reach upward.